and the decision is once off. So I gave you some examples, right? Whether to intervene in the market, whether to probably even whether to go overseas for studies, whether to take out a scholarship. These are all once off. So what is UBCC? B stands for benefits. C stands for cost. The other C stands for constraints. And this one stands for unintended consequences. Your school notes would have shown you a decision-making framework that looks like this. Okay? It's a diagram. Okay? UBCC is simple if the question is about a government from a market failure perspective. The benefits will be, right, how it addresses or how it improves efficiency and equity, aka benefits of government intervention. Then the costs, okay? Usually we talk about cost as monetary cost, but both implicit and explicit. Okay. Implicit cost is, of course, op cost. Okay. On a side note, whenever you talk about this dartboard, op cost, please make sure you highlight three things. LED, highlight, LED, define op cost, highlight what is limited. Usually it's about money, right? Government has limited budget. E stands for example. Give an example of what's the op cost. Okay. And when you're talking about constraints, right? Constraints is usually constraints in terms of budgetary constraints or constraints in terms of information based on the size of EMP or EMC. We can have very standard presentations for each of these points. Okay, any questions? No. Unintended consequences is usually something to do with government failure. Government failure can be due to overtax, over-subsidize until the new debit loss is bigger. Overtax, over-subsidize. Government failure could also be due to no profit motive. If you're talking about government producer, that's why wastage of resources. Okay. So whenever there's a question on UBCC, for the government, you just go with all these things. Okay. I would like to say, wow, for producers and consumers, there's also a standard way, but unfortunately, producers, consumers, you have to think on the spot. Okay? So if it's about UBCC for producers, consumers, it's very hard to give you something that's so clearly defined. I can't. Okay? So at most, we just see as maybe in terms of constraints, it's also constraints in terms of money or resources. In terms of cost, it is still implicit, it is still explicit. But the rest is really up to you to choose. Okay. All right, any questions? If it's about government, all right, it tends to be part B. Why? You realize in the body, you're actually talking about how the policies work and how to evaluate, how to talk about limitations of the policies. That tends to be part B. Producer or consumer tends to be part A.